What are your views on the Israel-Palestine conflict, and what, if any, changes would you make as president?
Yeah, I mean, that's not a short question.
Hmm.
So I'm anti-war, and that doesn't mean I'm against all wars.
Hmm.
I think all wars are bad, but there are wars that are immoral, and those are any war of choice. So I would say every war that we fought in our country over the past 100 years, except for one, World War II, was an immoral war.
Mm.
World War I was an immoral war. My grandfather protested that war. He lost a lot of his friendships. And World War II, to me, was a moral war. We were attacked. We responded against an implacable enemy that said, we want to, we're going to own the world. It's going to be our 1,000-year Reich, and we're going to own the whole world, and we have the power to do it. And so to me, that was a moral war. I think Israel's war against Gaza is a moral war. They were attacked. They weren't just attacked on October 7th. They were attacked for 16 years before that. There are 2,000 missiles a year, on average 30,000 missiles that Hamas sent over to Israel. Israel did everything it could to not invade Gaza. Any other country that was being attacked by missiles and commandos and all of these other assault, it's an enemy that Hamas does not want territory. There's nothing that will satisfy it in its own charter except the annihilation of Israel, the extermination of every Jew, and then the establishment of a caliphate. And in fact, in its charter, Hamas says that any negotiation with Israel is a violation of Islamic law, except as a ruse. And there have been 5 ceasefires so far, and Hamas has used every one of those ceasefires to rearm, regroup, rehoist the banner, and then attack Israel again. The October 7th attack, Israel had a tactical defense, which was it created the Iron Dome, which is where our money goes, most of our money. The US dollars that we sent to Israel and to create the Iron Dome. And the purpose of the Iron Dome is to allow Israel to absorb these attacks from its neighbors without responding. So every missile that Gaza sends, that Hamas sends onto Israel, costs Hamas about $800. And it cost Israel $40,000 to shoot it down. But Israel bore that expense rather than invade Gaza. By the way, I consider myself extremely pro-Palestinian. I have a group in Israel that is the only group in Israel that has Palestinians, Jews, and Jordanians on its board. It protects the Jordan River. I work with Palestinians all over Israel. I've met with the Palestinian leadership on the West Bank. I have friends in Gaza who I'm supporting today. I'm heartbroken by the injury that's being caused in Gaza. But I don't think Israel should be blamed for that. I think Hamas should be blamed. Hamas attacked Israel, and Hamas is a kleptocracy. It is victimizing the Palestinian people. Palestinians have received more money from the international community than any community in the world history. So between 1948 and 1952, we had a Marshall Plan. We rebuilt 17 nations in Europe that had been leveled during World War II. And we successfully rebuilt Europe. We did that with contributions of $630 per capita to all the people in those 17 countries. So for that amount of money, we rebuilt Europe. We've given, the international community has given to date, in the last 20 years, $8,600 for every Palestinian. And yet they're poorer than when we started. There's 47% unemployment in Gaza. Gaza should be one of the richest countries in the world. There's miles of white sand beaches. It has a port right at the confluence of the Suez, the Mediterranean, all the Western trade routes. It has rich, rich soil. It's an oasis with abundant water. Why are they so poor? They're poor because it has a kleptocracy that steals all the money. Oh, Ismail Haniyeh, who is the top person at Hamas, has a net worth, according to Forbes, of $5 billion. Well, he just stole that from the Palestinian people. That money could have gone for economic development, for building the ports, right, etc. The top three guys at Hamas have a network, a collective network of $11 billion. Mahmoud Abbas in the West Bank has a net worth of $1 billion. His sons are worth $470 million apiece. His predecessor, Yasser Arafat, died a billionaire. Arafat's wife lives in Paris, gets $22 million a year stipend from the Palestinian Authority. From these people were poverty-stricken. The whole thing is just a criminal, a criminal enterprise that's victimizing the people of Palestine and stealing from them, and then raising them to hate Jews, annihilate Jews, to believe that they have a right to return to Israel, which is, is not a right. And nobody has a right to return. The people, Israel in 1948, the Palestinians declared war on Israel. They invited 7 Arab nations in to destroy Israel and exterminate it. Those 750,000 Palestinians left at that point. Most of them left because the Arab countries told them to leave. And that is well documented. And so that they could go in, wipe out the Jews, and then everybody could come back. At the same time, those Arab countries expelled 1 million Jews who had been there for 2,500 years, who had done nothing. Israel accepted all of them. Israel accepted 3 million Jews from Europe. So it has taken its share of refugees. Now, in 1948, there were, after World War II, there were 122 nations created, including all the surrounding nations, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia. All of these were new nations that were created after the war by the Allies, drawing lines on a map, India and Pakistan. In each one of them, there were huge amounts of hundreds of millions of refugees who were expelled from one country to another. And the UN and the League of Nations program was that we're going to try to create new nations with ethnic homogeneity to decrease the level of future wars. So there were 8 million Arab or Muslims moved out of India, just taken away from their homes and moved to Pakistan. 7 million Hindus who were taken from Pakistan and moved to India. They don't have a right to return. There were 14 million Germans moved out of Czechoslovakia, and Czechoslovakia and the Czech Republic and Slovakia were created as new nations. And those Germans were forced back into Germany. All of them were resettled. Hundreds and hundreds of millions. The only refugee group in the world that has, within the group that was expelled are refugees, and then their children are also classified as refugees, is Palestinians. Why is that? Why are every Palestinian in the world is now classified as a refugee? There were 300,000 Palestinians who moved to Kuwait, who had good jobs in Kuwait, moved their family, their home, resettled there. Why are they still classified as refugees? I have a friend, Adnan Majali, who's a billionaire, who lives in Los Angeles. He is classified as a Palestinian refugee. He has a U.S. citizenship. So, the whole thing, and because there's a special UN agency called UNRWA that feeds on this conflict and feeds it. And one of the things that we most need to do to settle this conflict is to dismantle UNRWA and to give those responsibilities to the Palestinian Authority or to UNICEF or some other agency. Because that is an agency that is intent on not having the Palestinians build a country for the future, and instead having them saying, okay, we all have a right to return to Israel, which is not something that Israel could ever accept.